All right, it's time to talk about my all-time favorite AI visual in Power BI, the decomposition tree. Now, this one's still a preview feature, so you're going to want to make sure you have the latest version of Power BI Desktop installed. And once you open it up, you're going to need to head to your options and settings, open up the options window, and then what you can do is drill into your preview features. Just give that checkbox a check where it says decomposition tree visual and press OK. So you'll probably be prompted to restart Power BI. Go ahead and do that, and you'll see this nice little icon here. Kind of looks like a flow chart or a process diagram with that AI light bulb. That's our decomposition tree. So if you'd like to follow along with me, go ahead and open up the AI visuals file, and we're going to create a new page here called decomposition tree. So let's go ahead and give it a click, drop it onto our canvas, resize things a bit. Looks good. Now, you know me. Before we start tinkering, I always think it's important to talk about the why. So why are we using this visual? What's the objective? And what I love about the decomposition tree is that it's great for ad hoc data exploration. It's a great way to understand how your data is distributed, and it's an excellent tool for root cause analysis. And what I love about it is that it's smart, it's intelligent, it's AI driven, but it's also really intuitive and really user friendly. So let's go ahead and give it a click, and you'll see kind of two fields that should look familiar from our key influencers visual. We've got an analyze well and an explain by well. So what's important to note is that anything we pull in the analyze field here needs to be a quantitative metric. So we can pull a categorical field in here like project outcome, but it's going to get aggregated either as a count or a distinct count. So really what this visual is designed for is for continuous or quantitative fields. Things like the amount pledged in US dollars, for instance. You can see that by default, this was aggregated to a sum, which in this case makes sense. So not really impressive quite yet, right? We've got a little bar here showing the total amount pledged, 544 million. Now, where it gets interesting is when we start populating the explain by fields. And think of these explain by fields as the ways that we'd like to break down these dollar amounts, this amount pledged. So I kind of like to think about this like a hierarchy, right? Where I want to break things down at a high level, maybe like category first, and then a little bit deeper like subcategory, and then we'll go all the way down to the project name. And you can actually drop these in any order. It's just kind of the way that I think about it in my head. And you'll notice nothing really changed here except this tiny little plus icon appeared, which was so subtle that you might have missed. But what that does is allows us to build our decomposition tree. And we've got two options here with light bulbs. These are the AI-driven options where we can find out what makes our metric the highest or the lowest, or we can manually select one of the fields that we dragged in ourselves. So I'm going to start there because it's really clear, really intuitive, and also a really powerful option. So I'm going to take my amount pledged, I'm going to break it down by category. Boom, there you go. Instantly, I can see that games, design, and technology products make up the bulk of my amount raised or amount pledged. There's a big drop off before film and video, publishing, and then I can actually scroll down a bit to see dance here at the bottom. So from here, I can keep building my tree. I can select any one of these nodes and break it down at another level. So subcategory, for instance. Here we go within games, tabletop games, clearly the biggest driver here. And let's drill one level deeper to project name. And there you have it. We've built a decomposition tree in about 30 seconds, and it looks great. And check this out. It's totally interactive. You can select any of these nodes, totally dynamic. You can see exactly how your data is distributed, where you'll find the bulk of the volume. It's just a great, very user-friendly tool. And honestly, if they left it at that, it would still be a pretty valuable addition to the visualizations pane. But where it gets really cool is with the AI features. So let's close those out, and let's go back to our plus sign. Now what if we choose the AI-driven high value? Okay, we see the same result that we did manually, pulled in the category field, and it's showing games at the top. Same order here, kind of descending in volume. Now, what we didn't really realize happened is that Power BI looked at all of the available fields in order to find the one field with the biggest chunk of volume. That happened to be category with games here, which drove $144 million. But if, for instance, we had country as well, now all of a sudden US is the top driver. And it's really just based on the ratio of that 454 million out of the total, and that's what determines the rankings here, as well as which field was selected to be displayed. And that's nice, but it's not really artificial intelligence. It's not that smart or that impressive. But where it gets more interesting is if we go into our formatting pane, drill into analysis, you can see that by default, the analysis type is absolute. In other words, it's based on volume. That's why we see always the kind of descending by volume. We see the biggest categories pop up first. If we change this to relative, watch what happens. Everything changed. Now that AI-driven high value is showing project name, which is the lowest, most granular field that we have. And it's showing this top project, the 7th continent, as the biggest relative factor that contributes to the amount pledged. So the simplest way to explain kind of the rationale here is that basically Power BI is saying, okay, given all of the project names, what would I expect a project to drive in terms of pledge amount? In other words, it's the average across all projects in the entire table. And the reason why this project here, the 7th continent, is appearing at the top and why project name is appearing at all is because the difference between what this project drove and the average among all projects, that difference was bigger than any other difference in the data set. It's bigger than what the US drove as opposed to the average among all countries, and it's bigger than what games drove compared to the average among all categories. And that's why AI has determined that project name should appear here, and why the 7th continent is technically the biggest relative driver towards the amount pledged. So really interesting findings here that would be very tough to kind of realize without doing some pretty heavy analysis on your own. So with that, let's go ahead and clear that out. I'm going to kind of recreate that initial tree that we built because I think it's a pretty helpful one. Category, subcategory, and project name. Note that if you hover over the headers here, you can lock specific categories. So if you always want to start at the category level, but you'd like users to be able to rearrange these or pull them out, you can go ahead and lock one category or one column here of your tree, but leave the others flexible. Now, last thing I'll call out here that makes these visuals so great is that you can treat them just like any other visuals. You can format them. In fact, Microsoft just released a lot of new formatting options for this decomposition tree visual specifically. So you can change the look of your data bars if you want. You can change the connector lines, all sorts of formatting options here. And perhaps the best thing of all is that you can filter and cross-filter these visuals based on things like slicers or other visuals in your report. So check this out. It's as simple as dropping in a map, for instance, or let's use a filled map here. Pull country in, and now check it out. Our decomposition tree is now dynamic. It's tied to our map. We can look at the UK, we can look at France, we can look at Canada or the US, and everything updates dynamically. Again, really powerful tool when it comes to ad hoc data exploration, data distribution, and root cause analysis. So there you have it, the new AI-driven decomposition tree visual.